This was one that Erich had by his bedroom. Sometime there was a table near the room where he stayed that had a glass top, and then sometimes there were quotes underneath the glass. And this is one of them. It's actually a quote by Ramakrishna. It says, "Live in the world like an ant. The world contains a mixture of truth and untruth, sugar and sand. Be an ant and take the sugar." Here's one. Virtue has always attempted to suppress some elements of life. If the virtues of all the countries in the world were added together, hardly anything of life would remain. Because so far we know only one kind of perfection, the one that eliminates, not the one that embraces all. But perfection is a totality. I think this is by Sri Aurobindo. Virtue has always attempted to suppress some elements of life. If the virtues of all the countries in the world were added together, hardly anything of life would remain. Because so far we know only one kind of perfection, the one that eliminates, not the one that embraces all. But perfection is a totality, all-inclusive. Here's one from a social worker who, was there at Marizad and asked Erich, "You tell all these stories. I don't see how you do anything to improve the world." This is a social worker telling Erich this in Mandalay Hall. Erich replied, "Brother, I didn't come here to improve the world. I came here to die." This is Mani, Baba's sister. The movie has already been filmed. We're just trying to remember our lines.
Wow.
Here's a Zen description of realization I like. Midnight, no waves, no wind. The empty boat is flooded with moonlight. I'll read that again. Midnight, no waves, no wind. The empty boat is flooded with moonlight. And here's the last one. This is from Fred Winterfeld. Fred and Ella Winterfeld were really a dear couple who, in the latter part of their life, lived here at the center. And Fred said, working for Baba, the pay is terrible, but the retirement benefits are out of this world. So that was... So here's what I thought, and I'm asking all of you to chime in. It's the subject of completeness and, the experience of completeness. Baba describes the goals in many ways, and one of the ways is restoring the experience of our inherent completeness or wholeness. I mean, as you know, Baba has said that we are already complete and whole. And as young children, we felt pretty whole and complete. But as we grew older, we started to buy into beliefs that put our experience of completeness in the future or in the past. When I finish college, then all my life will be set up. Or when my father finally approves of my life, then I'll feel complete. Or when I finally give up lust, greed, and anger, then I'll have arrived. Or when I found my career in this world, when I find my life's partner, or when there's harmony among the staff at work, then things will be complete. In other words, it's kind of it's putting the completeness in the future. I mean, Baba says even thinking of the spiritual path as moving forward in time, and in the future you will experience the goal is a mistake. Here I'm going to just read something that Baba wrote. These are his words from the discourses. Baba says, the illusion that most aspirants find difficult to shake is the belief that infinite truth is an object that has to be attained in some distant future, and that all life is just a means for this attainment. All that life is and has is at once deprived of intrinsic significance if it comes to be regarded as merely instrumental to some far-off event. This is definitely a false point of view. Baba said, life is not meant to be rich in spiritual significance at some distant date, but it can be so every moment if the mind is disburdened of illusions. When every moment is rich with eternal significance, there is neither the lingering clinging to the dead past nor a longing expectation for the future, but an integral living in the eternal now. So, anyway, so I was thinking about, how to, later on I'll kind of go into what I gathered from the Mandali about completeness and the experience of completeness. But hey, I see Joshua has arrived. Did you pass your exams? You barely did, you said, right? When you graduate from college, you'll be complete.
Yeah, that will be when I attain enlightenment.
Yeah,
then I'll be happy perennially.
But anybody, can anybody share a little bit of their difficulty of feeling complete in this moment, and the very things, the beliefs that we buy into that put our like we're not enough. I'm not enough. Maybe in the future I'm going to be enough, but I'm not enough now. What? Let me see. Let's go for Catherine. Nice to see you.
Hey, everyone.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, I've been gone for a bit. I've been out of town and dealing with things out of town. But I wanted to mention to Joshua about the whole enlightenment thing. I don't know if y'all saw that meme recently. I think it was on the Facebook Mayher memes. Are y'all familiar with that? And the one where it was a kid in a classroom and reading a book, and he was just kind of going on the pages and then brushing them up over here. And this was how we determined was the best way to read God Speak. So I thought it was brilliant. But anyway, either that or put it under your pillow and sleep at night, and it works pretty good too. But so what you were talking about, Jeff, definitely. I just my partner and I, we walk along the bluff here along the Mississippi River, and we talk about all sorts of deep things. Everybody always comes, y'all sure do have a lot to talk about. And I'm like, we talk about a lot. And we were talking about the ego and what it possibly would be like to experience God realization. That was our topic for tonight. And so that reminded me of what you were saying, and that it would sort of like and I like to term of it as the false self being the ego, and then the true self, who we really are, is not something to attain. It's just who we are. But we have this false egoic self that diminishes. But the ego itself, my own mind, trying to think of what God realization would be like, to be honest, it's almost like I feel like it's going to be a whole different being doing whatever, and I'm not ever going to exist anymore. So it seems to take it away from what I'm experiencing as a spiritual being in the present moment, which clearly isn't really what Baba's saying, because it seems like it's really more that we are who we are. You know, the realization has to come, but that's with the diminishing of the false self, and that it slowly just sort of gets smaller and smaller, and it's less and less. But if you look back on your journey, you can tell that you're more and more are doing living your true self, living the truth and of the oneness. And you know, we were having a challenging day earlier where both of our egos were frustrated at each other, and it was like, if I could just think of you as myself, you know, we'd be good, you know. But that was just sort of the topic, so it seemed to go along with your the readings you had tonight, Jeff.
Yeah, beautiful. I mean, I like that image that your real self is there, and you're kind of trying to shed this other one that real self has been there all along, who we are, and that the other one is being shed gradually, and the real self, you know, our complete self is kind of coming more and more into view.
Yeah.
More
And it's
more
not like the
appearing.
clouds aren't going to part and some big thing's going to happen. We're just going to be ourselves.
Yeah, beautiful.
So,
Let's see, either Sally or Prakash.
Jai Baba. Hey, I mean, I gathered a couple of things from The Way and the Goal, Dr. Harry Kenmore's talks.
Mhm.
And I thought a few things that he mentioned may be interesting to relate here. And so I just keep reading what he has said in small passages. So here he goes. Meher Baba's nazar or eye is on every one of his intimate mandali. Wherever they go, Baba goes. Thus, the mandali know how to prevent an adulteration of the completeness of Baba. So that's one thing. And
Wait, read that again.
Meher Baba's nazar, right? Or
Yeah.
eye is on every one of the intimate mandali. Wherever they go, Baba goes. Thus, the mandali know how to prevent an adulteration of the completeness of Baba. So that's one thing I thought I could share with everybody here. And in addition, he says,
Prakash, before you go on,
yeah.
so I won't be able to keep it in my brain. What was that line about the adulteration of Baba?
Yeah, thus the mandali know how to prevent an adulteration of the completeness of Baba. That's what he said. I'm not here to, yeah, I really don't know. I'm just throwing it out because the thought is about completeness here.
Okay.
Actually, maybe the next one that I read may perhaps help. He says, in Baba, you find completeness. And that completeness has as its symbol his Daman. When you take hold of the Daman, you are holding on to completeness. It's this completeness that gives the security, that gives you the nourishment, that gives you the know-how to cease wandering elsewhere for information about your real self. Maybe you want me to read that again?
Beautiful. That's a great line.
Yeah, I mean, in Baba, you find completeness. I'm reading that again. And that completeness has as its symbol is Daman. When you take hold of the Daman, you are holding on to completeness. It's this completeness that gives you the security, that gives you the nourishment, that gives you the know-how to cease wandering elsewhere for information about your real self. So that's there's much more. And he really
That's an excellent quote.
yeah.
I mean, that captures.
And he further goes, if you hold on to his Daman and obviously love Baba, It says it integrates us more and more. It strengthens us, makes us more firm and dedicated, and gives us power and forbearance. Above all, there's a tremendous sense of integration or completeness. That's what it says. I mean, those articles of Harry Kanmo's talks are just beautiful. I mean, and and my own thoughts about completeness. I go back to what Meher Prasad read. Self-forgetfulness. I mean, it happens to us occasionally, at least to me. When I'm deeply immersed in thinking about Baba, or I'm just chanting his name or doing things like that. So there are these fleeting moments of, I don't know what to call, for lack of any better word, I say fleeting moments of completeness. In a way, one would be so lost that I don't think you even think of completeness. you're just lost. So, but these are so temporary. So to me, completeness, in my thinking, happens just like surrender, that, you surrender something that you want to, sort of surrender to Baba in some way. And then you find that, oh, I need to surrender this also. I need to surrender this, and so on and so forth. So there are several surrenders that just keep on adding and piling on. The same way, I think this completeness also has its fleeting moments that you get. And then, so they add up. Yeah.
Until it becomes more abiding.
Yeah.
So it's like gradual.
Yep. I mean, but I suggest everybody, if you get a chance, take a look at that, the way and the goal articles. They're just beautiful. So, well, Jay Baba.
Yeah, good. Well, we can always come back to you. Let's see what Peter has to say.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. I've been wrestling with what to say about this because sometimes I think I'm a poster boy for the subject. On the other hand, it just occurred to me about 10 seconds or 30 seconds ago what Erich was talking about completeness. And this is something I think I can only try to come close to, is when he was talking about trying to think of how to express this. Knowing your limit. Maybe completeness has to do with knowing your limit. I hope this makes sense to you. It's like knowing how much one can take before they start going into the past or present. Why did I think none other than Bear Grylls, the guy from Man vs. Wild, he knew what his body could take when it came to survivaling. And what I think about Erich, when he told Baba, I can't go past the new life. It's not possible. My body can't handle it. And then Baba basically insisted, you're going to go do this. And he found out the limits of his body, mind, and spirit. And I'm hoping I'm not going to stutter through this too much. Because when I thought of completeness, it was in a much different way. I look at having a father that was a very, very, very troubled person. And my desiring to be complete was working through this. What I think it was really trying to desperately achieve to get away from attempting to be whole, attempting to be complete, only to be hardly able to get up out of bed in the mornings. I got chronic illness and I could hardly move. And there was somebody that had a wonderful quote. that had to do with the tragedy of not knowing what we can, not knowing our full limits. And I think that's what Erich was speaking to, knowing our full limits. I get very tongue twisted around the subject because the more I tried to achieve, the more I stumbled and fell. And one thing I'm looking at is if I had achieved, I don't think I would really think of Baba very much, really. I think he'd be like, okay, thank you for the success, bye. I would just leave. And what touched me, what I related to, is that quote that you said of Mani. It had, maybe you could refresh my memory. It had to do with, I asked for strength in which to follow his wish or to fulfill his mission. But I got weakness in which to rely on him. I feel like I've become more and more acquainted with my weaknesses as opposed to my strengths.
Yeah, the quote
I really don't even know what more to say except to go keep on going. So I'll cut it there.
well, stay tuned. Yeah, the quote that Mani would say is, I prayed to you for strength to carry out your work. You gave me weakness, so I would depend on you. Which is linking up with Baba is where you get the completeness, you get the wholeness, and that was greater than, I guess, the work that she was talking about. Let's see.
Jeff, can I follow something up with that though? Can I follow up with something?
Yeah.
Okay, when I look at this thing called completeness, okay, it's becoming clearer to me what Erich was saying. As he learned, he's one of these rare people, I believe, that learned the tolerance or his physical and mental ability. Like he seemed like he was complete in knowing his full capability. And sometimes I wonder how that links. I mean, would you agree with that? And I try and think of how, if that's so, how to manifest it in my own life when all I see is weaknesses for the most part. I'm kind of baffled.
Yeah. No, I think one of the things Baba says, give up lust, greed, and anger. Am I just going to be not complete until I've given those all up? No, it's just knowing how much you're able to do at any one time. This is as good as I can do with anger. This is as good as I can control at this. It's not the perfect control of anger. It's just, this is the degree that I can do now. So that you kind of know, you're kind of complete with the effort you made now. Tomorrow you may be able to do better in your control of anger. And the same way with a lot of the spiritual things, we're only going to be able to do, we don't want to underdo our efforts, but we don't want to hold ourselves to impossible expectations. Otherwise, we'll always feel incomplete. I'm not enough. I'm not a good enough follower of Baba. And so that is, to me, isn't exactly healthy. Anyway, let's see. Are we back to Sally and Prakash? Or is your hand just hanging out up there?
Yeah, the hand is hanging out there. I mean, I'll just take it out. Yeah.
But we got Catherine.
Well, I'll just add to that the thought that came to me with the completeness and then compared to the weakness. And just as Peter was talking, it reminded me of what we all experience with like a bad internet connection. When we're connected to Baba completely, just like a good internet connection, you're going to have a stronger ability to do whatever. And what came to me also was, I know I've read somewhere, and I'm never good at quoting, but it was regarding sleep. And maybe you can help me with this, Jeff, in that I believe Baba wrote that if once you're rid of the mind, the individual mind, that you don't need to sleep. You're not, it's the mind itself, it's the false self that's causing you the need to be tired and to have to sleep and to And obviously, I'm sure once we hit that deep sleep is going back to the unconscious God state, because we're all caught up in the mind too much. Does that make sense? Or
Yeah, I mean, that's down the road a ways. But, I mean, we need to get just the right amount of sleep for where we're at right now.
right, but
Yeah,
that's what we need to do. And as we're, like you said, that where we're at, we need to know our limits, and when it's one step at a time, but that connection and everything is part of the completeness of the being able to live as one.
yeah. Yeah, one of the things, there's some of these beliefs that we buy into. One of them is I would like harmony among my staff, say, in your office. Now that means then that your completeness is contingent upon arriving in harmony. So you'll always be disappointed because it'll never really be quite harmonious. So basically not have your completeness or wholeness contingent upon outer conditions, because they may or may not be fulfilled. And there we are basically kind of, we're sabotaging our wholeness or completeness. Let's see what Michael Childs has to say from California. He's in paradise. He should be complete out there. I mean, if he wants anything more, there's, I don't know. Uh-oh, he can't. You keep trying, and when you come on, we'll give you the
How about now?
you got it.
All right. I don't know why this machine does these wild jumps when I'm not looking. I think it's important to distinguish the language of the soul and its perception, and the language of the mind and its perception. Nothing can be complete in the mind. It always, shall we say, it moves like a spiral, like this, and it never ends up where it began, and it's always subject to change. But the soul can experience completeness. And it's a state of being in love and a state of surrender. Like this moment, this is what it is. And it's as if you could die right now, and you don't need to go on and expand and talk forever or do anything more than what you're doing now. The problem is, of course, we're not God realized. And so there's this feeling of incompleteness. And then we have to do something about it. But actually, the soul doesn't have to do anything. And love is not a matter of doing, it's a matter of being.
Beautiful, yeah.
So it sounds silly. It's so simple. We knew it as children, as infants. Because we could just look at our parents and say, I love you. And that was it. That moment was complete. And the satisfaction was in that completion right there. So I don't know that there's a solution, but except to keep on doing what we're doing.
No, excellent. Beautiful. I know when we were young, there was a completeness there because we hadn't learned all the things that we had to become, We could go down to the park and play. We didn't have to go down there and achieve anything. Let's see. Ganesh has come in from, we're talking, as I mentioned to you before, or emailed you about completeness. Yeah. And one of the things I just mentioned is that, you take into your place of work, you want to have harmony and understanding among your staff, your fellow workers. And if that's your objective, your expectation, you're always gonna, you're always gonna feel incomplete. You know, that's that's the type of belief that we buy into. I mean, I even found it here at the center, you know, I felt, well, we should all be harmonious and everything. We should at least try to be harmonious, but early on, I kind of felt like, well, we should be harmonious. Well, I was continually frustrated because it's not possible for any number of people to be in harmony. It's a pretty rare thing. So I had these unrealistic expectations that I paid dearly for. Anyone else to chime in?
Yes,
Yeah.
Jeff, then after that, how did you come to terms with the current situation? How did you find your peace in it or your completeness in it?
At present.
Yes.
You know, it's interesting. One of the things that Baba said in Listen Humanity, sooner or later you adopt the attitude of live and let live. And you try to be loving, but without the expectation. I had to try to lower my expectations more and more so that I could enjoy what is actually there. And, you know, live with what's there and interact with what's there rather than expecting some ideal
And if
situation.
suppose then you are trying to get in harmony and there's somebody who's like needling, trying to unnecessarily create challenges for you, and how do you deal? That's one situation we all encounter when you just have these people around who try to get into you and try to make your life harder.
You know what Adi Kearani would say to that?
Yes.
Better luck next birth. No. No, I mean, that's all. There's always, I always think there's always some sand in your favorite spinach casserole. I mean, there's always something that doesn't quite, I mean, the imperfection, the is part of, can we accept that? I mean, that's the mix. That's the territory. That's very hard, you know what I mean? If someone is deliberately sabotaging your efforts, what can you do? That's the hardest thing to do. Is what is the counter response to somebody who is trying to sabotage your efforts or trying to get ahead of you by putting you down, whatever. To expect that you're going to get fair treatment in a job situation is not necessarily going to work. You know, I mean, you would like it, but if it's a fact that it isn't there, then you have to go into plan B. What do you do when someone is deliberately being difficult? What do you do if someone, without losing your kind of wholeness? What do you do, Ganesh?
It's just like there is one thing to it. What prompts deep from within, that's what I do. Certain times I had a situation where Baba said you have to be bold, and then I have to be bold and face the situation in a bold, different manner. Certain times you just like remember Baba and let things fade away. So it's always dynamic, not one single answer of how you deal with it.
Excellent.
It's whole lot dynamic. There were situations when I had these sort of situations and like Baba it was like I had to raise my voice and put and get bold. And somewhere I thought that Baba wanted me to be bold and get out of my comfort zone of what I was operating from. So it's the first situation to situation. There's no single answer. That is what.
Yeah. It's kind of very situational. But like
Yes.
say, when you were bold, did you feel like you were more complete when you were being bold? I mean, more yourself.
Yes, I thought Baba was pushing me out of my comfort zone and he just wanted, so he wants us to be fluidic, not be attached to one nature of what we are, like, okay, nice, soft person or very cool person or something. He just wants us to wear all those hats. So when I was being bold, yes, it was a, experiencing a complete different me.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
but that completeness comes, like, for me, it's like when you're at Mehrabad, you're sitting near the Samadhi, just as love is flowing to you, and that's a complete moment, nothing else. It's just his love is flowing to you, and that completeness is something I think I struggle to take it back to my daily life.
Yeah. No, very hard to translate that back into your work environment or whatever. But the completeness, as we gathered from the mandala, has to be achieved in good circumstances and unfavorable circumstances. You know, that's the challenge. But we'll go. I want to go ahead to Catherine.
Yes, we have
Well,
to have.
I was going to say that, it seems to me, at least that on my path, that as I move forward more and more, the life tends to throw out some pretty significant adversities and that really want to, disturb my peace and disturb what I feel I want to do for my spiritual path and all that. And they're challenging and but I have to keep going to Baba and keep surrendering it to him, and basically have come to the conclusion that I just have to do my best with love, and and then the one bit is just to surrender the outcome. It may be horrible. Some bad things could happen, and but I'm doing my best to do my part to be responsible for them. There's some legal issues that I'm dealing with, and but in the end, if it doesn't, however it works out, that I have to detach from that. And it just seems like, I don't know if it's just that I'm being distracted or being pulled away from what I can consider to be my spiritual path to deal with all of these things, or if I'm but there, it's been a challenge. And so I would think that it seems to be that life does that to you as a spiritual seeker.
Yeah. No, well said. Let's see. We got Joshua up there.
I really relate to that, Catherine, because I'm in a situation where I feel like very out of control and sort of almost being I'm just sort of like holding on to the back to Baba's Dharma as I'm dragged through the dirt, But a friend just today told me, she told me, I think she was being, it's a bit funny and a bit like a comedic, but she said to me, the secret to success is having no expectations. And for me, that really struck my core in that, yeah, so much of it's my expectations, and so much of, and that goes back to Jeff expecting everyone at Myrtle Beach to live harmoniously, that can lead to me not having that internal peace within. So yeah, I was just wanting to put that out there in case anyone identified it with it.
Amazing your friend said that to you. Say that again, what she said?
She said, the secret to success is not having any expectations.
Wow.
And it's it's interesting, because
Incredible. Okay, let's see. Oh, hey, we We got some Franny around the corner there. The mommy of Franny. Are you do you know kind of what our subject is?
Yes, I've been following it.
Oh, but you got your hand raised. Is that by mistake or?
No, I was just going to say that
Yeah.
friend is like Rumi. Be not an expectant looker upon this path, for by God there's no death worse than expectancy.
Yeah. That's one that was Rumi, was it?
Yeah, Rumi.
I think that's quoted in maybe God Speaks or somewhere.
That's quoted in Let Us the People Sing, and Barbara translated that particular one.
Yeah.
The
Say
friend.
that one once again.
Be not an expectant looker upon this path, for by God there's no death worse than expectancy.
Yeah. And that was Hafiz, was it? No, Rumi, you said Rumi.
Rumi.
Yeah.
Jalaluddin
Wow.
Rumi.
Oh my God. I've had way too many expectations. Let's see. Michael Childs.
Hi there again. Well, I wanted to read a poem to you, and I had a thought when Catherine was speaking that I often compare life to a football game, where you get out there with the team and you kick off and you get yourself beaten up and bashed, and sometimes you catch the ball and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you score, you don't, you win, you lose. And then the game's over and you go to the showers and it was just a game. And I know we as souls live life like that. So the idea is not to carry the game with you all the time. You have to know when to call it quits and say, okay, I'm going to refresh myself, a little meditation, and not lose your sense of humor about it. Because that's my dog in the background. So she's here to remind me that I'm here. So I want to read you this poem, if my dog will let me. Okay. The underworld. Some people act very spiritual. I don't. Why pretend to be something I am not? Every morning, my penis reminds me of its existence. Every day, my stomach reminds me to fill it. If I really sought God, would I not forget these cravings? Would I not be lost in bliss and relegate my body to irrelevancy? Yes, I see you when I catch myself. Yes, I feel your hand upon my hand, your arm around my shoulder, your voice singing in my heart. Yet the world is still here. The sun rises every day. Telephones ring, children cry, the bills come and go. Life takes its inexorable, if I can only say it, life takes its inexorable toll as my body lurches to its death like everyone else. My dreams are like others. My desires to secure my comfort are no different than anyone else's. Why put my hands together and wear a painted smile? Why deny my urge to sex and eat and rage against the senseless world whose purpose is to eat itself alive? No. Let me walk in the dirt from which I came. I am no better than my brothers and sisters who have no lofty aspirations except to live this one life well. I want to thank you, Lord, for the many blows that I have suffered, for every calumny and injustice, for every humiliation that I've endured. I've had to abandon my desire to be extraordinary, and in that process of surrender, I found you in my ordinariness, eating at my table in my lover's arms. Truly, you are everywhere and in everything.
Beautiful. That reminds me of Adi used to say, Baba doesn't want us to be perfect. He wants us to be perfectly human. He used to say that. He doesn't want us to seek perfection, but to become perfectly human, which is, or like Erich, Erich used to quote Baba again and again over the years. To be natural is most godly. Not to be spiritual is most godly. To be natural is most godly. And And then I think, you know, what I kind of gather from Erich is if you're natural, you're actually quite complete. You're not more than you need to be. You're not less than you need to be. You're kind of your natural self. But what does Marta think? You know, there in Santa Barbara.
Hey, Jeff. Hey, guys. Well, I was kind of dreading you calling on me.
Oh, you don't have to say anything. I'm just.
Oh, no, I must say something. I'm really not hooking into this topic.
Mhm.
I don't think about completeness. I can't really relate to it. It's not something that I think about, you know. I think I don't. Yeah, I haven't hooked into it. I don't know what it means or what you are speaking of. It doesn't have a relevance to me.
Yeah.
Or practicality. I don't get it. I hear the words, and I've been listening, trying to hook into something. The only thing I do remember, and I have very few memories of when I was young, but when I was in high school, I remember I was a freshman and there was a senior. I went to all girls Catholic school. And I remember this friend of mine, she was a senior, and she told me expectations are death. And I always remembered that. And it came up tonight, and I really, that's one thing I did relate to. I think that's really true. I think that I've had a lot of expectations of people, and I think that through my years of living, I have less and less and less expectations. And that's what I have to share right now.
Yeah. Well, you know what I think, I mean, I have a feeling that you found your natural self so that you're pretty much ongoingly, you know, you're not really having to bother about becoming more, or, you know, you're just being yourself, which is kind
Yeah,
of,
wouldn't that be lovely?
no, I mean, you know, so that you're not even having to think about being complete or whole. You're basically kind of found, the expectations are kind of worn out. You're trying to be something or become something more, you know. But like, say, someone's younger, maybe like Joshua, you know, what am I going to do with my life? You know, what
Yeah.
I don't know what the heck I'm going to do. I mean, well, when I was Joshua's age, I mean, I was agonized. What am I going to do with my life? Baba, just tell me something, point me in a direction, you know, so that my well-being was situated in finding what I was going to do with my life, you know. And but then after, when you've been around the block a few times, you're, you know kind of how much you can do and how much you can't do, and you know your limits. You know you're making progress on things, but you're not over exaggerating how much progress you should make on your anger, on your, you know, lack of forgiveness or whatever. You know just how much you can actually do.
I think that I've learned a lot of freedom coming this whole year to these talks with you, because you have reminded us over and over to give everything to Baba. And it seems like that just gives me so much freedom. I just don't think about a lot of stuff I used to think about. I just give it to Baba. And I know it's so simplistic, but I don't know. I would have to say that's kind of my ticket to freedom. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Just, oh, well, if that person hurt me, well, I'll just give it to Baba and see how it goes. I mean, I still feel it. I still
Yeah.
have emotions, God knows, but they just don't have, not as devastating as they used to be, not
No.
as elating as they used to be.
Yeah.
They just kind of are fun.
Takes the venom out of the sting, whatever.
Mm.
Yeah, let's see what Ganesh. See, now he's a young guy. You see, he's got all these
Yeah, let's see
goals and
what
he's trying to achieve. And
Ganesh has to say. Yes.
No, I was just thinking when you're saying be natural, So what does natural mean? So means how do I know I'm being natural? Because in my natural self, I might be full of anger or I might be full of jealousy. But what does being natural mean? I'm just trying to get to that. What
Yeah.
is so it doesn't mean I keep expressing my anger. It doesn't mean that I show my jealousy. So what does natural and how do I be natural?
Yeah, I always kind of felt it means heart natural, not desire natural or not negative emotional natural, but kind of loving in a natural way. I think of it more of a heart, sort of a warm-heartedness is our kind of natural state, rather than uh, you know inflicting a temper on somebody, because that's
Because it's usually we behave out of our sanskaras. We have our own sanskaras pattern and we have that way of uh, dealing with things.
Wait, say that again.
So we actually have this way of dealing with things based on our sanskaras. So it seems natural, but that's not natural.
Yeah, I think of love as being behind the sanskars. So the more love that gets in there, the more natural we become. Rather than just living from our sanskars, love may come through the sanskars, but we're living from love as best we can. I think Rainey's got the answer.
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, Jeff, I've got the question. She who doesn't like to ask questions. What is natural? Josh and I want to know what is natural. If I naturally feel like saying, oh, stuff you, I absolutely do not agree with that. And I'm not going to go there. I've never been like that. And how naturally or unnaturally should I respond to such a thought?
No, that's a good. Anybody want to venture on what is natural? Robin.
I
Being
think
natural.
doesn't Baba say it's just being honest? It's about honesty.
Oh, great. Then I can say stuff you. I'm just not going to think that. I'm not going to go there. Thank you.
So stuff you mean something different in Australia. But yeah, I think you have to take the you got a scorpion. If you can take its stinger out, you can still move around, but it's not it's not stinging people. But I think that about there.
Oh, there you go, Josh. There you go, Josh. There's a great little mantra to have there. I feel like saying stuff you. I'm just not going to go there, but I can't make it personal and I can't sting the person with it. Only I can say, interesting. I'm not going to go there right now, or something.
Yeah.
It's not really unnatural. It's quite natural, but take the sting out. There's a good tip.
Yeah, and I think if you try to follow as best you can what love would kind of want you to do in a situation, I think you're sticking to naturalness. Should I give this person a piece of my mind, or or my heart might come in there and say, no, don't hurt, that could hurt their feelings too much. Maybe you can say it in such a way where you get your point across, but you don't shame them or hurt them. That's being natural. If somebody is friendly to you and you just give them the cold shoulder, there's something unnatural about that. You're not vibrating in unison with the way they are responding to you. But let's see.
Mani had a thing where she said, if that fire came up on her tongue, like the person say, let the fire become ash, the way she could let the fire become ash, because she was so spontaneous, she'd sleep on it. And
Yeah.
she said almost always the next morning it made 10 times more sense and there was a better answer or a better response.
Yeah. Okay, Ganesh.
Oh, sorry, my hand was up from that time. Yeah, I had to lower it.
Okay.
Yeah, not.
So let's go over here to Prakash.
Yeah, no, I just want to throw this out. I think to me, being natural means you're in perfect harmony with in your body, mind, and soul. I mean, there is no conflict anywhere in your actions that you do, in the thought that goes, and so on and so forth. And and I think it also means to me, at least, poise and some sort of equanimity. I mean, some sort of poise in what you do, in what you think, and that sort of thing. And that's when you're very natural. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to, sort of pose. All these things are out of the way.
Yeah. And I mean, it kind of goes with Robin saying, I mean, you're kind of being your true, you're being honest,
Right.
but not hurtfully honest, but whatever, lovingly honest. It's hard to, that it's too bad we don't have this in the English language. The Sufis have all sorts of words for these things that we're talking about. So, Michael, can't hear you.
How's that?
Yeah.
Well, Ganesh reminded me of when I was pretty new to Baba, and I'd gone to to live near the Mayor's Spiritual Center, and there was a plaque on the wall that said something to the effect of being cheerful because it helped others. And my thought was, well, if I don't feel cheerful, I'm not going to fake it, because to me that was being authentic. And of course, if you walk around with a grim face, people will look at you and grimly. And I knew that I had broken through somehow years later, 20 years later, when I would walk down the street and people would smile when they saw me. And I said, oh, that's different. And I realized it had to do with the expression on my face and that it was genuine. So what I have found in my life is the power of transformation, where you can make painful incidents in your life disappear. Now, what happens, what I've discovered is that when you're in pain, that's like how consciousness is like an onion. And the first layer is that social aspect. And underneath that is the layer of pain and what you would like to tell them if you only could get your hands around their throats and tell them, because you don't know what else to do with the pain. But once that pain is dissolved, then there's no need to be angry at anybody, unless it's unless it's being it's this righteous anger that Eric talked about. Because again, to bring up the subject of being beaten by my father, I was in a lot of pain for most of my life, and it was very close to the surface. And yes, I love Baba on one hand, but on the other hand, if you got too close, I just wanted to scream at you. So reconciling all that, I had to deal with this. I had to acknowledge the pain that was within me. And actually what I did was recreate the incident. I had to relive it more like in a dream than in actuality. And that took a lot of the charge off it. So a lot of us, when we get angry at somebody, we're really angry at something else. The pain is elsewhere, very deep in our subconscious. And we take it out at the first opportunity in somebody who sticks their head up and reminds us of it. So it's really important not to let that fire out of your mouth. And just to say, well, why am I feeling this? What's behind it? And you can meditate on it and you can see images. And then if you look at it enough, the images come into focus. And it's good to have somebody else there to just say what you experience so that you don't take it out on anybody, because it's unjust and it's unclean. And you always end up making apologies and feeling bad about it. And it gives you more pain. And that's why we see the world the way it is, the way we treat each other. We're in pain because we deny who we really are, which is love. We all love each other. And we just tear each other's eyes out because of the pain that's within us and the fear of survival. So
Yeah,
that's my 2 cents.
good. That's a couple of $20 there. Okay, let's see, Mayor Prasad.
So I get change.
Yeah.
To me, when I have doubts about what is natural, I just ask this question: what would please Baba in this situation? If I assume Baba isn't here, what would please him? And that action that comes out of that is the most natural thing to do, because that would please him. Anything else is unnatural.
Yeah, wonderful.
Anger, if there is anger, and Baba said, gulping down anger is the most courageous action one can do. And if somehow you forget during that moment and you express that, as long as you're not brooding on that, that is fine, because Baba wouldn't want you to brood on whatever has happened on that person. And not keeping that anger inside you is not something that would please him. So you try to have loving thoughts of the other person that you just expressed anger to. That would please him. So that is a natural act to do, even though it may go against your sanskaric patterns. But that is really the most natural thing to do. That is my 2 cents.
Beautiful. So yeah, so you're saying that in trying to please Baba, that's the way to really be natural, is doing what you feel would please Baba in the moment.
Just
Yeah.
like Prasad, what you said, just to put it in an example, like just let's say like somebody has humiliated me in this moment. So there are 2 things to it. If I were to go as per what you say, then I will just like be normal, nothing has happened, it's okay. But there is a part of me that always wants to give that message to him. See, it's not that I want to humiliate him, but what you did has pained me. So realize that there is some pain that you're causing to me every time. Because if I don't give him that sense, he is going to repeatedly do it. So somewhere we want that message also to go to the other person. Not that we want to arm twist that person, but at the same time, we in real life, we want to like, okay, see what you have done or what you made fun of me in front of others. It did pain me. And that's the kind of message we want to give others certain times. So, and if we brush it off, like, okay, it's Baba, everything is Baba, we'll end up in the same situation and the other person will never realize.
Yeah, I think Eric would say that's the natural thing to do, is, saying, wow, what you said hurt me. I mean, that is a natural thing. A child would say that, you hurt my feelings. But it's harder for a grown-up to say, oh, you hurt my feelings. That's not cool. You're supposed to be detached. But yeah, beautiful point.
I think it's the motivation that you're telling, you're using to tell is the motivation for you coming from a vengeance or hatred, or is it coming out of love, so that you actually have developed that love for the other person, and you want to really make sure that the other person is not unnecessarily gathering more burden by doing such kind of a behavior. But it really depends on the motivation behind what you're telling the other person, right? So if you're telling it because you were hurt and you're taking a revenge, but using this excuse about the other person shouldn't do this again, that's not a good thing, right? So it really depends, and you have to look a little bit deeper on what is your motivation.
Yeah.
Yes, I was just thinking of a very recent raw situation, and you would think once you're over 60, some of these things would just water off a duck's back. But no, some of these things are very deep, and sometimes the person was, you saw in the person that the person actually wanted to get at you, but they were in all these years they were never game to do it. They were never quite game, but here they were in a position of power, and they had a moment where they could do it. And I'll be darned, they did it. So what to do then? My response was writing an open letter with 2 witnesses, so it had to be polite, Ectortine across the top of the email, saying you did this. It was not just. It was a lot of you, and it hit me from caught me totally unawares, and because of that, I'm hurt. I cried myself to sleep. I had a very nice dream from it, but it was not all right. That is honest. And one can say, oh, I look like I'm on a big ego trip. I better not send this, blah, 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 thus the including other people for another view in case this was a fact. And we get game enough to do that when we're older. So don't worry about ending up looking like us. There are a few wisdoms that come in as we age. But it led to a very honest dialogue and a very
Afterwards.
complicated, very long email back from the person, and he replied all. So he obviously wanted a couple of witnesses in the situation too. And I did not give up. I wrote again and said, yes, but what you didn't see was this, and what you didn't see was 2, and what you didn't see, the bullets were there. What I saw that created my pain. And I realized, unlike Michael in this life that knew where his pain came from, this person does not know where his pain comes from. And here's where a real problem arises. It's coming with him. There seems to be no good reason for it, but he is a brat at times. And so it gets tricky with Baba. And you cannot walk around in agony with your feelings hurt, not going to look at Baba because of self-pity or whatever. It becomes very deep and very complex.
Yeah. Wow. That's a kind of a courageous thing to do. These wow. One time in India, there was Eric would be in Mandalay Hall, and he would tell these, touching stories, some of them mostly Baba stories. And there was one guy there who obviously didn't believe in Baba, and Eric would tell a story, and then he would say something sarcastic, after Eric told a story, and, yeah, how do you know that he meant that? Or, it would be like a little subtle dig. And this went on for some weeks. And the Westerners were there about to strangle this guy. Like, why are you even coming here if you're just throwing a damper on these beautiful stories. But at one point, Eric told a touching story, and when it came to the end, the guy did his usual kind of sarcastic remark. And Eric looked at him across the room and said, "Your sarcasm frightens me." And he never did that again. I mean, I would have said, your sarcasm pisses me off, you know, because that's what I was doing. Eric said, your sarcasm frightens me. It's probably the first time he ever saw what sarcasm does to the human heart. I mean, Eric had the humility to hold up a mirror. So the guy, is that what you want? Do you want to frighten people? And he got a reflection that only a few souls would be able to give him, I would say. Because the rest of us were, you know, would be want to give him a dig back or, you know, complain about his behavior. Anyway, Robin.
I think that's really interesting because through like psychodrama and a whole lot of other stuff, almost always when somebody's angry, first they're frightened.
Oh, you mean?
You know, that it comes, if I'm afraid of something, it's easier to get angry than to be in touch with the fear that's causing the anger.
Wow, yeah, beautiful. Very often, I would say that's the case.
I think almost always it is.
Yeah, it hides the fear.
That was a good response for Eric to be in touch with that and reflect that back at him. That's good.
Sometimes we like when we get hurt. The hurt, instead of acknowledging the hurt and speaking from there, the hurt goes up into the head and becomes anger. And rather than kind of speaking, acknowledging the hurt, even to ourselves, we're already up here plotting with anger on how we're going to get back at the person or how they frustrate us or whatever.
We don't want to be vulnerable, but
Yeah.
when we are, we get a lot of progress out of it sometimes.
Michael, what you?
I was in an office with a fellow who was a yacht broker, and I thought we were closer than we were. And somehow I got telling him about my experience of being a darshan and the experience that I had. And I described it as being no less than when Paul met Jesus on the road to Damascus, which is truly how I feel about it. And even in speaking about it, it comes back to me, it always does. And this fellow had gotten a master's in theology, and he tore into me. How could you possibly compare yourself to Paul? He was a magistrate, and he was one of the disciples of God, and you know, blah, 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 blah. And he went on and on and on. And all I could think of was, this is what Christ went through with the scribes and the Pharisees, because they accused him of the same thing, slightly in different contexts. You call yourself the Son of God, the Son of Man. You're nothing but a carpenter. And based on that, you know, they found him guilty and crucified him. And when I went to India, it was really clear to me that Christ and Baba were one. And I remember being back at the crucifixion and just in tears. And I wanted to be up on that cross. I would have willingly been on that cross and just replaced Christ, just to be, so that he wouldn't have to suffer what he did. And so when this fellow was attacking me, I let him go on for a while. And in a sense, I savored it, because then I knew what Christ had gone through in a very mild degree, but it was the same. I was dealing with a Christ killer. And as he went around for the third or fourth time, repeating himself as if he was on a loop and he couldn't stop himself, I just said, "That's enough." And he stopped. And I haven't spoken to him since. And that's what I experienced. That's one instance of picking your battles, I guess.
Wow, that's intense. You know, let's see. You know what? I had a. Here's. This is a slightly slightly different subject, but it does come into something that it does connect a little bit with what we're saying. I see VJ here, and his father was named Sulu. And I'm going to read just some of the lines, some of what Bob has said to Sulu. That's his father. Sulu, because and to think of yourself in the same way. He's really referring to all of us. But Baba says, Sulu is greater than me in the sense that he loves me with such deep devotion. He has seen me only once in Panchgani in 1938, and since then he's been kept far away. Lovers in that respect are truly great. The greatness of their love is such that it creates faith in a master whom the poor, ignorant lover does not truly know at all. But because of firm faith, the follower is ready to give up his very life for the master. Isn't that greater than God? God is always greater in his infinity. But if lovers, in spite of their finiteness, rise to give up all sacrifice rise to give up all sacrifice to give up all, sacrifice their very lives just for love and faith in their beloved, whose true being they do not at all know, it is indeed greater. That is why God, even in spite of his infinity, bows to the greatness in recognition of the spirit of selflessness that he beholds in the love and faith of his true lovers. I mean, it's incredible. What he's saying is that we don't know Baba truly, and yet we're loving him. And to be willing to live our whole lives for him, not knowing really who Baba is, he's saying is greater than God's in his infinity. I don't know if that makes any sense, but these are Baba's words. Isn't that, if you're already God, then you love and sacrifice, you already know God. But to have many of those same qualities and not actually truly know that he is God is pretty remarkable, and Baba bows to that type of faith and love. That's a little bit, that's VJ's father. Hey, VJ.
He's on mute.
There you go. VJ, we can't hear you. Good. Now,
Jay Baba, very good morning here and good evening. Yeah, I had an hangover since last night from Canlux meeting, 2 hours meeting, and I was really in the morning, I was in tears. What a sacrifice and what a dedicated lover. Though I never got to see him, I wish that I could have met him And means it's so means in the morning I had tears, and I thought I would write a letter to Michael Siegel. And so there are lovers who really means how they dedicate their life and what is sacrifice. And even he came into the dream of his son's stepfather. He loved his son. His son. He showed his concern that how he is concerned with his son, and he will be with him. And this son, Elia, last night he was telling that his stepfather had never such emotion or any love towards him, but he was in tears. So definitely that affects even after he has gone. And I was really very touched. Yeah, I wish I could have met him. So see, there are lovers and such a great sacrifice. And my father was also one of the example. And I wish I could be like that. So yeah, that's amazing.
This
Amazing.
was
Yeah.
just to to go over the what story is that there's a guy named Ken Lux, and he had a son Elia. Now Ken passed on about 3 years ago, and his son is about 40, 39, and he's going through med school, and he was between semesters and feeling very low. I mean, he's starting up so late in this course and everything, and he was feeling very depressed. And normally he would, in that state, he would be able to call his father. And his father had a great enthusiasm, would always bring him out of his depression. But he was, now his mother had remarried this guy, and that this guy did not like Ken Lux, But during this period between semesters, when he was feeling so low, his stepfather, who didn't like Ken, had a dream in which his father, came to him in a dream, embraced him in the dream, and said, send my love to my son and tell him I love and support him. Something like that. Came to in a dream to his stepfather, and who was very unemotional. But so the next morning he was conveying this in tears to Elia's mother, and she communicated that to him. And so his father did give him the enthusiasm and all that he needed through his stepfather. I mean, it's beautiful. On the other side, he was able to go on supporting his son at a very low moment. Beautiful. We were all in tears hearing that. Oh, Marta, you were there, weren't you? Yeah, God. Very unexpected. Well, folks, are we complete with completeness, or are we? Well, oh no, here I wanted to mention one thing. If one of the things that I gathered from the Mandali about completeness, I mean, and Darwin talked about this, but the other Mandali, if you can bear, you build up a tremendous tolerance for suffering in the present. Not just physical suffering, emotional suffering, mental suffering, so that you can accept what you're going through right now and not try to go to the future to escape it, or go to the past to escape it, or go to alcohol or drugs to escape it. But if you can stay with your misery or suffering, you get at least the experience of completeness. You're whole. But if you want to escape that pain, you go to the future. Energetically, the future, you are actually escaping your your wholeness. And now if I go in the future, I'll be complete. I'm incomplete. This is intolerable. So I want to go to another place, the past or some distraction in the present. And so one of the things of being complete is being able to, as they say, accepting what is with grace and love, and not going energetically out of this moment. So you could be miserable and complete in the moment, or you could get drunk and you could feel better being a little bit having drunk, but then you're like incomplete because you're kind of you get separated from yourself. I don't know, does that make any sense?
Yes.
In other words, the ability to tolerate tremendous suffering in the present, whatever cards you're dealt. That doesn't mean that if you've got a migraine, you don't take your medication. I don't mean that type of thing. But, if you can bear what you have to experience in the present, you'll always feel whole. You won't necessarily feel bliss, but that wholeness can compensate for the pain and suffering, the wretchedness. Anyway, that's
the power of now. That's what Eckhart Tolle talks about. Totally.
Yeah. And it's, yeah. Did you know that Eckhart Tolle lived next to Baba lovers for years?
Yeah.
And heard all about Baba. It was interesting, and he'd say, "Don't tell me what Baba says. I want to think about that, and then tell me what Baba says about such and such a subject." It was very good. He wanted to find out for himself what he felt, and then hear what Baba had said. He didn't want to hear what Baba said beforehand. But
I think a sense of humor is very important to have.
Oh yeah. You mean to bear the pain of the present?
I just keep on thinking that we're players upon a stage, very elaborately worked out stage that goes on to infinity and works like clockwork. And we have agreed as souls to play these parts and even forget that we agreed.
Yeah.
So we can't play it convincingly unless we're really into the part. And this is like great theater that we enjoy from this other aspect of ourselves, observing ourselves being the players upon the stage. So it really helps that when things really get rough, or you contradict yourself, or, oh, there was another thing. I asked Baba once in the lagoon cabin, not in the body, but spiritually speaking, I said, release me from my fears. And they said, only if you make me laugh. And I said,
hey, good, I like that.
And I said, I have this feeling that it'll be at my expense. He says, you're right. And there was some liberation in being willing to be a fool and to say, oh, I screwed up again. I mean, I can relate to Rumi playing chess with Shams for 10 years and losing every chess game that he played with him. And he finally, he played a game and he lost. And he said, I have lost. And Shams says, no, you've won.
This time you've won. Yeah, this time you've won.
This time you've won. So the sense of humor really is a saving grace, and it makes you more human, and people can relate to you better. And
my morning prayers, I don't feel complete until this thought enters my mind, and it doesn't always enter my mind, but this thought, Jeff, you're just a joke. when that thought eventually comes to me, and it doesn't necessarily come right away, but when that comes, then I'm finished. I finished my prayers.
This is actually very funny that you brought that up, Michael, because just today before this, I was writing that very same thing. I came up with that same message to the trick of the art of making Baba laugh and sort of the divine significance of that, and how sort of like there's grace in that, you know, and that's a way to get grace, is to be happy and be almost a comedian even when the life is falling apart. So that's very serendipitous that you brought that up.
Yeah, good.
Well, it's
I
nice to
just
be
was
useful.
listening to a lecture where the person said, you know, she was talking about how we're in a play and all that, and that we're creating the script as we go along, and we can change the whole scene. And that really helped me, because I certainly want to do that. And I don't know, it's not easy, but we have maybe the power to just, you know, change the play to something else.
And also the ability to laugh at yourself.
Mhm.
I mean, you know, you can take yourself so seriously that you can be in agony for the rest of your life. You know, my mom had a tragic childhood. She had a fantastic sense of humor, and she was eccentric, rather an eccentric person, and she loved eccentric things. And I feel it felt her rise above what had happened, and so, and it became who she was. It actually became who she was. This humor and this and the ability to laugh at herself, or you know, she got too deep into it. In fact, the truth never even came out about it all until she was 60. No one dreamt what it was. I suppose her sisters did, but 6 sisters, but they all had fantastic senses of humor, and they all were eccentric. It made me think they all maybe went through what she went through, but they never spoke of it. Only she did. When the doctor questioned her, and he rang me and told me. No one would have dreamt what this person had been through. Yeah, but
I
you could
mean,
laugh at it.
humor is one of the divine qualities.
Yeah.
You wouldn't normally list it as one of the divine qualities, but it is.
I have a friend that's an Irish friend, always used to say, you know, to laugh to keep from crying. And so that's sort of down here in the South, where I call that Southern humor, you know. There's so much going on that you got to laugh about it.
You've got to jump in. Recently, someone gave a talk, and they'd gone up to Cushery Quarters, and they were standing at the threshold outside Money's office, but Erich was sitting there, and then they got inhibited that he was sitting there, and they stopped and Erich looked up laughing and said, "Look, don't stop at the threshold. With Baba, you're either in or you're out."
Good.
And it made him laugh, and he didn't feel self-conscious anymore. And it's been one of his guidelines. You're in or you're out, Baba.
VJ got his hand raised. Uh-oh.
But he's got his mouth taped.
Yeah, regarding humor, it reminds me the first number, very most natural way, Dr. C.D. Deshmukh. And Baba liked his presence. You know, I remember as a kid, I was sitting at Guru Prasad, and Baba, in a room in the afternoon, some 10, 12 people, maybe 20. And Baba asked everyone to sing. And when his number comes, Dr. C.D. Deshmukh, he just went like, oh, something. And Baba was laughing, though he didn't know how to sing, but he went most natural way. He wanted to please Baba. And Baba enjoyed the most. Baba was laughing like very vehemently. He was shaking and so that was a most natural way making Baba happy and humor. And I think Baba liked him always. He was a focus of Baba's entertainment. Yeah.
We lost our host, Jeff.
Yeah.
You in our sorrows.
Jeff heard.
Let us make you laugh so you come back.
So,
Jeff.
Rainy, after you said that, don't stop at a threshold, you're either in or out.
Yeah.
And after that, we lost you.
Maybe he's in and we're out. I mean, who knows? Something happened here.
Yeah. So,
Maybe it was a thunderstorm. The other day, there was this beautiful concert with our darling Judith Shotwell on her harp. And she said, oh no, there's thunder. And within one song, she vanished. You know, she was in some hill somewhere and she vanished. Maybe there's thunder, Jeff.
yeah, no, possible, yeah.
There isn't. I'm right across the street and I don't hear anything.
Oh, there he is. He is back.
Jeff,
He's back.
are you in or out, Jeff?
Where'd you go, Jeff?
Threshold, Jeff.
Give him a big hand.
Yay!
You guys notice I disappeared?
Yes.
Yeah.
I forgot to plug my thing in. For all the ridiculous.
Oh,
Yeah.
it went flat.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yes, that's this is the problem. Remember what Bao said? Or they had all the cameras. You know, at the end, it was just pathetic. His guy is so sick, and they got the cameras and the microphones, and Bao said, "Oh, one day all you people will see."
Yeah, all the power grid will fail.
More electricity.
Yeah.
I think it's time for Jeff to leave.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Please
no.
leave. Jeff, you're tired. Please go to bed.
No, his computer's tired,
Soon.
Jeff. It's full of
Soon, yeah, we're getting close.
Yeah.
We're getting close to the end here. We're almost
Jeff, you did not
incomplete.
write that line. That's a Doors line.
What's that?
This is the end.
Oh, yeah.
My friend, this
Hey,
is
Baba.
See ya, Nasreen.
Yes. Yes.
We're going to
See-
exit here pretty soon.
Yes.
Anyone else have? It's funny. I was thinking of something, and then this whole thing shut down, and I'm. Yeah, I have a friend that says that, if you were to actually look into the mind of most people, the one thought pattern that's just looping around in them is, I would rather be somewhere else with someone else doing something else. I mean, there are a great many people in the world that, for whom that is a reality. This is not the place. It's over there with her, and we're doing that. One of the things that's very difficult in staying in the present is not just suffering, boredom. Baldna too said there was one yoga that all the Mandali had to master. And it was 3 words: sitting, doing, nothing. Basically, you had to, nothing is happening. Sitting, doing nothing. This isn't like on a mountain sitting and doing nothing. This is when there's activity going around and you haven't been given any job. And so you're just sitting, doing nothing. And to be complete in that. Yeah.
There's a song about that.
Huh.
Jenny, you know the song.
No?
Busy doing nothing, working the whole day through, trying to do what we're not supposed to do. We're busy going nowhere, we're having such a time. We'd like to be unhappy, but we just don't have the time. Do.
Hey, let's sing that again. I like that.
Busy doing nothing, having such a time. We're busy doing nothing, having such a time. I can't think of it now. You've taken it off me.
Uh-oh.
We'd like to be unhappy, but we just don't have the time. Da-diddle-dee-dee, da-diddle-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. It's the Seven Dwarfs song. We're busy going nowhere. We're having such a time. That's it. The Seven Dwarfs song.
I'm late.
No, that's the rabbit in Alice in
Okay, let's see. Michael, I think we're coming down to the end here.
I got a poem.
But we can't hear you, and
No here?
I can.
Can you hear me?
but he's not moving. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Entrance. This is a collection of poetry I started in '89 called 40 from the Center. Billboards, neon signs, restaurants, stores assault the eyes upon entering the town that hosts the Godman's home. Cars roar down roads at unheard of speeds, densely packed like angry bees swarming fiercely to kill intruders. From either side comes a continual cry, buy from me, buy from me, buy, 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 not from them, from me. Overnight buildings flourish like mushrooms in the humid air, populated by milling naked people searching for bits of cardboard pleasure. At last, the solitary mailbox marks the gate. Lone soldier guarding ranks of silent trees, an oasis amidst the babble of senseless commercial strivings. A quick turn against the overwhelming crush of traffic brings us to the rustic gate. A simple latch opens into a quiet wood. Friends greet us at the gatehouse, a simple cabin set among the trees. Slowly, we proceed into the silent center. The noise and energy recede. The howling of cars replaced by the songs of birds, of crickets, of frogs. As we near the ocean, we enter the womb of God. Lord, Michael thanks you for creating the sanctuary in the midst of chaos. The least he can do is give you his heart.
Beautiful. No, that's lovely. That's going right into the center here in Myrtle Beach. Beautiful. Hey, well, let's call it a day. I do want to mention one thing. Is I got an email from Alan Manukian, and his father died kind of unexpectedly on this past Wednesday. Yeah.
Mr. Dustin, his name is, for those that like to light a candle with a name, is
The-
his
the-
stepfather. Yeah.
If his father is the name is
Mr. Dustin, I can't think of the first name.
Mr. Dustin, yeah.
he
So
was-
he's there trying to be a comfort to his mom. Okay, let's have a few moments of silence. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba.
Alan's stepfather is Frank Dustin.
Frank Dustin.
Happy trails, Frank Dustin.
Yeah. Okay, let's have Nasreen ring out the meeting.
Yes. Okay. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
Jay. Har Meher Baba.
Ki
Jai.
Jai.
Avatar
Meher Baba.
Jai.
Jai.
Okay, well,
Thank you, Jeff.
see all you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for everybody
Thank you all, Jai Baba.
chiming in on this.
Jai.
Thank you.
Jai Baba.
And if you folks get any topic that you think is worth exploring, in our life with Baba, feel free.
Forgiveness.
Yeah, forgiveness. That's who said forgiveness?
What's that?
Peter.
Oh, Peter said forgiveness. Yeah, forgiveness is worth looking into,
Aren't they tied together? Forgive and forget, Baba said.
Yeah.
Tied together.
Forgiveness is hard because our sense of justice is so powerful that it prevents us from forgiving,
But we can't forget.
Nobody does that to me.
Yeah, really. We can't forget.
Do they know who I am?
Yeah,
They would
really.
never treat me that way. Okay. See you guys.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba.
Hey, Baba, everybody.
Baba.
March
Baba.
and
Jai
Sham,
Baba.
Diane.
Jai
Thank you,
Baba.
Baba.
Catherine, good to see you.
Yes.
Yeah. Diane, I see Diane in the shadows. I am. Yeah. Oh, hey, Glenn. I saw Glenn there too. Yeah.
Diane in the car. Hi, Diane in the car.
Yeah.
Terry.
Diane and Terry in the car.
Yeah, in the car.
In the car. She's looking at my accent. You naughty girl.
All right.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Yeah. Jai Baba.